Hi, good morning. In registration chapter, now we are going to discuss section 24 of the CGST Act, compulsory registration. Irrespective of turnover, that is, the turnover of the preceding financial does not exceed the limit also, some persons are compulsorily liable to be registered in the state or union territory. That is, the following category of persons shall be required to be registered under the Act. If the turnover does not exceed the specified limit of 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs, they are compulsorily liable to be registered. So, first case is person making interstate taxable supply. Interstate taxable supply means the person selling goods out of the state. Suppose a person has a place of business in Chennai, he is supplying goods to the Karnataka. That is the interstate taxable supply. If any person making interstate taxable supply is compulsory liable to be registered irrespective of turnover. If his turnover is less than 1 lakh, less than 10 lakhs also, he is liable to be registered once he is making interstate taxable supply. If within the state if he is supplying, then only section 24 will apply, section 22 will apply. That is the threshold limit. If he is making interstate taxable supply, he is liable to be registered compulsorily irrespective of his turnover. That is the first thing. Suppose the person making interstate taxable supply of goods, he is liable to be registered irrespective of turnover. Such a person supplying taxable goods of handicraft, then turnover limit will apply. If a person making interstate taxable supply of handicraft goods, then he is not liable to be registered compulsorily. He is liable to be registered once his turnover exceeds the aggregate turnover. Second thing, casual taxable person. Any casual taxable person making interstate taxable supply, he is compulsorily liable to be registered irrespective of his turnover. But such person making interstate taxable supply of handicraft goods, he is liable to be registered once his turnover crossed the aggregate turnover of 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs, 40 lakhs, as the case may be. Third one, person who are required to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism. If I am supplying goods on which all my supplies the liability to pay tax on reverse charge by the recipient, I am not liable to pay tax. My recipient has to pay tax. In such a case, the recipient is compulsory liable to registered irrespective of turnover. If his turnover is less than 1 lakh or less than 10 lakhs, he is liable to be registered once he is liable to pay tax on reverse charge mechanism. Then person who are required to pay tax under reverse charge, already we have discussed this one. Then non-resident taxable person. Non-resident taxable person, a person residing out of India, he came to India for doing some business, only some period. In such a case, he is liable to be registered irrespective of his turnover. Then electronic commerce operator. Who is electronic commerce operator? Examples are like Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal, like that. They are compulsory liable to be registered irrespective of turnover. If their turnover does not exceed the specified limit also, they are compulsory liable to be registered in this act. And one more point is, any person supplying goods through e-commerce operator, they are liable to be registered. But any person supplying services is not liable to be registered. Any person supplying goods through e-commerce operator is liable to be registered under this act irrespective of their turnover. But any person supplying services through e-commerce operator, they are liable to be registered once their turnover exceeds the specified limits. Then person who are required to deduct tax under section 51, whether or not separately registered or not. Any person who are required to deduct tax, that is only e-commerce operators only. Person who made taxable supply of goods or service on behalf of other taxable person, that is agent. Any person selling goods on behalf of third person, that is principal, is compulsory liable to take registration irrespective of his turnover. Suppose Mr. X is supplying goods to Mr. Y as an agent to supply his goods, and in such a case Y is selling his goods and Y is selling Mr. X goods also. So he is treating as an agent. So in case of agent, he is compulsory liable to obtain registration. Then input service distributor. Input service distributor means he is passing the input tax credit to his recipient units only. He is not supplying any taxable service. Only he is taking services. For that he is supplying input tax credit to his recipient units. So in such a case, input service distributor is compulsory obtain registration. Supplier of online information database access or retrieval services from a place outside India to a person in India. This is OIDAR service. OIDAR service is compulsory liable to take registration. They are supposed to supply a service from a place outside India to a person registered to a person in India other than a registered person. Then example, Mr. S has made the following supplies of goods from Hyderabad to Chennai during the year 2018-19 are as follows. Okay, he is supplying goods from Hyderabad to Chennai. Determine whether he is liable for registration. Intrastate supplies 4 lakhs, that is within the state. Interstate supplies 3 lakhs. Okay, total turnover is 7 lakhs. In the first case of compulsory registration, we have learned about if any person making interstate taxable supplies, he is liable to be registered irrespective of his threshold limits. He is making interstate supplies of 3 lakhs. So he is compulsory liable to be registered irrespective of his turnover. Even though his turnover is less than 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs, 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs, he is compulsory liable to take registration as he is making interstate supplies. Next. That is the answer. We'll read the answer. As Mr. S has a place of business in Hyderabad, he is required to obtain registration once his aggregate turnover exceeds 20 lakhs. But he has made interstate supplies, then he is compulsory obtain registration irrespective of turnover. Okay. Next case. Example number 10. Mr. Ram has supplied goods from his own account for an amount of 2 lakhs. And on account of principal, he is supplying goods to the tune of 3 lakhs. Is he required to do registration? It is in a case of agent. Agent is compulsory liable to take registration. If any person selling goods on behalf of some other person as an agent, such person is liable to be take registration irrespective of his turnover. We'll see the answer. If any person selling goods on behalf of some other person as an agent or otherwise, he is required to obtain registration irrespective of turnover. That only we are discussed. Then casual taxable person. Who is casual taxable person? CGST Act defines a casual taxable person as a person who occasionally undertake transaction involving supply of goods or services or both in the course or furtherance of business, whether as a principal, agent or in any other capacity in a state or union territory where he has a no fixed place of business. He cannot exercise the option to pay tax under the composition scheme. Casual taxable person is not eligible to opt for composition scheme, first point. And second point, what is casual taxable person? For example, he is a place of business in Hyderabad. He go to Chennai to exhibit his gold ornaments and he sell the goods there itself. In such a case, Mr. A is liable to take registration as a casual taxable person in Chennai compulsorily. That is the thing. If you see the example, you will get the clear idea. Krishnadev and company engaged in supplying taxable goods is registered in Rajasthan. So he is supplying taxable goods and he is a place of business in Rajasthan. It wishes to participate in a business exhibition being held in Delhi. He has one exhibition is conducted in Delhi. He want to participate in Delhi, but his place of business in Rajasthan. However, he does not have a fixed place of business in Delhi. He don't have place of business in Delhi. In this case, Krishnadev and company has to obtain registration as a casual taxable person in Delhi. So any person want to do business in some other states, he has to take a casual taxable person registration. What is NRTP? Non-resident taxable person means any person who occasionally undertakes the transactions involving supply of goods or services or both, whether he is a principal or agent or in any other capacity, but who has no fixed place of business or resident in India. He cannot exercise the option to pay tax under composition scheme. In these 2 points, casual taxable person, non-resident taxable person they are not eligible to opt for composition scheme. They occasionally came to one state and do the business. They don't have a fixed place of business or residence in India. These two. Then this is the section 24. Section 23. Coming to section 23. Section 23 of CG states persons not liable for registration. The following persons are not liable for registration even the limit exceed the aggregate turnover. If the threshold, if the turnover exceed the aggregate turnover also, they are not liable for registration. Who are the persons? First one, person engaged exclusively in the business of supplying goods or services that are not liable to tax or wholly exempt from tax. If any persons engaged in supplying goods or services that are wholly exempt from tax, like petrol or alcoholic liquor for human consumption, these two, that is not wholly exempt from tax, are outside the purview of GST. In such a cases, they are not liable for registration. Agriculturist, to the extent of supply produce of out of cultivation of land. Any agriculture is producing and selling such agriculture produce out of the cultivation of land is not liable for registration. Then third one, person engaged exclusively in the business of supplying goods or services or both wholly exempt from tax. That is also similar to point number 1. Specified category of person notified by the government on GST concerns. On GST council recommendation, the specified category of persons we are going to discuss now. First we have to do the example. Madhur Oil Punjab is exclusively engaged in supply of petrol outside the purview of GST. So it is exempt from GST. Supply of petrol is not leviable to GST. Petrol is not leviable to GST. Thus Madhur Oils is not liable for registration. Since they are, it is not liable to GST, so they are not liable for registration also. That is the answer. Madhur Oils is not liable for registration as it is for engaged exclusively in supplying goods wholly exempt from tax. Okay. Then next is example number 13. Bhavya Jyoti Foundation, a charitable trust registered under 12AA of the Income Tax Act 1961, is exclusively engaged in supply of services. They are providing services by way of charitable activities. Okay. So any services rendered under section 12AA of the Income Tax Act, they are also exempt under GST. The same it will be discussed here. Services by any entity registered under 12AA of the Income Tax Act by way of charitable activities are exempt from GST. Thus Bhavya Jyoti Foundation is not liable for registration as it is engaged exclusively in supplying services exempt from tax. Okay. Next one. Example number 14. Deshabandhu is an agriculturist engaged in the cultivation of wheat in his field in the state of Punjab. Okay, his place of business is in Punjab. He was exclusively engaged in supply of wheat cultivated in his field in the previous year. Okay, he only is supplying wheat that is also out of cultivation of his land. Thus, he was not liable for registration as he was exclusively engaged in supply of produce out of cultivation. So, it is a supply of produce means supply of wheat that is out of cultivation of land. So, he is not liable for registration. In the current year, he decided to start trading in rice apart from supplying his wheat. Okay, his turnover in the current year 32 lakhs from supply of wheat and supply of wheat produced and 9 lakhs from trading the rice. That means his agriculture activities turnover is 32 lakhs and trading activities is 9 lakhs. So total turnover is 41 lakhs. 41 since he is engaged in trading also, so total aggregate turnover is 41 lakhs, which is more than the aggregate limit of 40 lakhs. So he is compulsory liable to be registered. So once his turnover exceed the 40 lakhs, so he is liable to be registered in Punjab. Next case. Who are the specified category of persons exempted from obtaining registration? Some persons are not liable for registration. This we have to discuss right now. Person making only reverse charge supply. If I am supplying goods on which tax is paid by my recipient on reverse charge mechanism. No, I am not. I am supplying goods, but I am not liable to pay tax. My recipient has to pay tax on reverse charge mechanism. I am not paying the tax. Why I have to take registration? If I am making taxable goods as well as exempted goods, in such a case I have to take registration. Since my taxable goods I have to pay tax on forward charge, but I am making only the supplies on which tax is paid by my recipient on reverse charge, the supplier is not liable to be registered. Only the recipient is liable to be registered. Then for that one example is given. Manikaran Transporters is a good transport agency engaged exclusively in supplying GTA services, liable to tax under reverse charge mechanism. That means Manikanta Transport is a good transport agency. His services are liable to tax under reverse charge. That means the recipient has to pay tax. Thus, it is exempt from registration. So, he is not liable to be. He is only supplying goods transport agency on which tax is to be paid by the recipient and reverse charge. So, Manikaran is not liable to pay tax on his supplies. Further, Manikaran Transporters supplies such services to Divakar Manufacturing Company, whose aggregate turnover does not exceed the applicable threshold limits. Since Divakar Manufacturing Company has to pay tax on GTA services and reverse charge, it is required to obtain registration mandatorily irrespective of its turnover. What is this one? Manikaran is supplying GTA services on which recipient has to pay tax under reverse charge mechanism. But recipient turnover does not exceed threshold limit. Even if recipient turnover does not exceed the specified limit also, he is compulsory liable to be registered irrespective of his turnover. Recipient turnover does not exceed the specified limit also, he is compulsory liable to be registered irrespective of his turnover. Then, person making interstate supply of services. Previously we have discussed persons making interstate supply is compulsory liable to be registered. Persons supplying interstate supply of goods only compulsory liable to be registered. Person making interstate supply of services is not liable to be compulsory registered. Once his turnover crossed the aggregate turnover of 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs, he is liable to be registered. Unless and until his turnover does not cross the limit, he is not liable to be registered under GST Act. This is the second case. Example we can discuss. Dhola and Company, located in Delhi, is engaged in supply of taxable goods in the neighboring states of Punjab and Haryana. Okay. Its aggregate turnover in the current financial year is 10 lakhs. Okay. First, it is a supply of goods only. Since it is supplying of goods and it is supplying to interstate supply, it is a interstate supply. So, it is compulsory liable to be registered irrespective of its turnover. However, Dhola and third para. However, if in the above case, Dhola and Company is engaged in interstate supply of services, it is services, not goods. Instead of goods, it will be eligible for exemption from registration till his aggregate turnover does not exceed 20 lakhs or 10 lakhs. Once his turnover crosses the 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs, 40 lakhs, he is liable to be registered. But he is not compulsorily liable to be registered in case of supply of services. In case of person making interstate supply of goods, he is compulsory liable to be registered. In case of interstate supply of services, such person shall be liable to be registered once his turnover crosses the aggregate turnover of 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs. Third one. Then, however, in the following cases, person making interstate supply of goods have been exempted from obtaining registration. This already we have discussed, and once more I can discuss. Any person making interstate supply of goods of handicraft goods, any person making interstate supply of handicraft goods is not liable to be registered compulsorily. He is liable to be registered once his aggregate turnover exceeds the specified limit. Any person making interstate taxable supply of goods is compulsorily obtain registration. But in any person making interstate supply of handicraft goods, he is liable to be registered once his turnover crosses the aggregate turnover. Likewise, in any casual taxable person making taxable supply of goods, he is compulsorily obtain registration. But a casual taxable person making supplies of handicraft goods, he is liable to be registered once his turnover crosses the exceed the aggregate turnover. Threshold exemption. In case of any taxable person or not casual taxable person supplying handicraft goods is not liable under compulsory registration. He is liable to be registered once his turnover exceeds the specified limit of 10 lakhs or 20 lakhs or 40 lakhs as the case may be. Then here one example they are given. Example, Mr. Ajira Private Limited, located in Madhya Pradesh, is a supplier of taxable and notified handicraft goods. It supplies these goods in neighboring states of Uttar Pradesh and Orissa. Okay, its aggregate turnover in the month of April 15 lakhs. Although Arija Private Limited is engaged in making interstate supply of taxable goods, it is not liable to obtain registration till its aggregate turnover does not exceed 20 lakhs. So once his turnover crosses 20 lakhs only he is taking registration, otherwise he is not liable for registration since he is supplying handicraft goods to the neighboring states. Same casual taxable person I have discussed, the same point they have given here. Job workers. Any job worker supplying interest for job worker. Who is job worker? Job worker means he is process the goods, send the goods back to the principal, send the goods back to the principal supplier. Job worker supplying, any job worker supplying interstate supply of services. This is nothing but services. Any job worker making interstate supply of services, he shall not compulsorily liable for registration. He shall be liable for registration once his turnover crossed the aggregate turnover. Not job worker means any job worker when he is liable to do registration, he is liable to do registration once his turnover exceeds the threshold limit. Then person making supplies through ECO other than supply specified section 9(5) of the CGST Act. Section 9(5) of the CGST Act we are going to discuss right now. First, this turnover. Any person making supplies through e-commerce operator, they are not liable to be registered under section 24, that is compulsory registration. They are liable to be registered once their turnover crosses the specified threshold exemption. That means any person supplying services through e-commerce operator, they are liable to be registered once their turnover crosses the threshold limit. Otherwise, they are not liable for registration. But any person supplying goods through e-commerce operator, they are liable for registration irrespective of turnover. Procedure. What is the procedure? Section 25 defines the procedure for registration. Every person who is liable to registration under section 24, under section 22, or any person who voluntarily take registration shall apply for registration within 30 days of becoming liable for registration. Any person who is liable for registration under section 22 or 24 or person seeking for voluntary registration shall be liable for registration within 30 days from the date on which he becomes liable for registration. If any person, suppose in one state A is doing business in SEZ unit, A has 2 units, one in SEZ unit, one unit is outside the SEZ unit. In such a case, he has to obtain 2 registration, one in SEZ unit, one for outside the SEZ unit. For SEZ unit, separate registration is to take, even if the 2 units are within the same state. Got my point? If the SEZ unit is located within the same state and he has one more unit outside the SEZ unit within the same state also, he has to obtain 2 registration, one for SEZ unit and second one for outside the SEZ unit. And one more important point, if one person having a different business verticals in the same state, he has to opt for different registration in the same state. Or if you want to take one registration for all the business verticals, you can take. That is up to the registered option of the person only. If any person interested to take one registration for all the units situated in the one state, he can take one registration. Or if you want to take separate registration for each state, he can take separate registration for different business verticals in the same state also. That we have to discuss. Every person who is liable to be registered under section 22 or section 24 shall apply for registration in every state or each state or union territory in which he is so liable within 30 days from the date on which he becomes liable to registration, in such manner and subject to such condition as may be specified. A person having a unit in special economic zone or being a special economic zone developer shall have to apply for a separate registration as distinct from his place of business located outside the special economic zone. Further, within a state, an entity with different branches shall be granted single registration, where it can declare one place as a principal place of business and other place as a additional place of business. Suppose in Hyderabad, he has one business. He has three, four branches. One in Hyderabad, and in districts, 2, 3 branches are there. In head office, he declares as a principal place of business, and other units in the same state, he can declare as an additional place of business. Although taxpayer having multiple places of business in one state, not mandatorily required to obtain separate registration for each such place of business in the same state. He has an option to obtain independent registration with respect to each such separate place of business, or if he want to take one registration for all his business vertical in the same state, he can do the same. That means that already we had discussed. If I have 3, 4 business verticals, if I want to take separate registration for each business vertical, I can do the same. If I want to take one single registration for all business vertical, I can do. That is up to me only. Then second one, composition levy in case of separate registration for a multiple place of business within a state or unity. If a person paying tax for one of his places of business under the normal scheme, he shall not pay tax under the composition for levy or neither. I have 3, 4 business. I have taken one business as a composition tax payer. Then remaining 3 units also I have to opt for composition scheme. If I am ineligible for composition scheme for one business, all other units are ineligible for composition scheme. So it is not, if I want to take composition scheme, I have to take composition scheme for all my business unity. If I want to take a regular scheme, for one business, I have to take all business as a regular scheme only. Then voluntary registration. Voluntary registration means a person is not liable to be registered, though he has applied for registration voluntarily. Why? Because suppose his input tax credit is more than the output tax liability. In such a case, he has to apply for refund. Therefore, such person shall apply for voluntary registration. Then voluntary registration. A person who is not liable to be registered under section 22 or 24, he may get himself registered voluntarily. In case of voluntary registration, all provisions of the act as applicable to the registered person shall apply to the voluntary person. What are the rules and provisions are applicable to the regular taxpayer? The same rules are applicable to the voluntary registered person also. However, once a person obtains voluntary registration, he can pay tax even though his aggregate turnover does not exceed 30 lakhs or 10 lakhs or 40 lakhs. Voluntary registration usually obtained by the business for ensuring the seamless flow of credit to their consumers. Once voluntary registration is taken, what are the rules and provisions applicable to the regular taxable payer? The same rules are applicable to the voluntary registered person also. Once I had taken voluntary registration, I had to pay tax from today itself, from zero turnover itself. So up to 20 lakhs I can't pay like that. It is not there. You have to pay from today, from zero dated only, from zero supplies. I have supply of 1 rupee today. On that 1 rupee I have to pay tax like that. Sumoto registration. Actually, the person is liable to be take registration, but such person is not taken registration. The officer came to the premises and conduct survey, inquiry, inspection. On such survey, it is found that such person is liable to take registration, but he has not taken registration. In such a case, the officer has sumoto on the spot itself has given a sumoto registration. It is called a temporary registration. Where that is the thing we are going to discuss. Where pursuant to any survey, inquiry, inspection, search or any other proceedings under the Act, the proper officer finds that a person liable to registered under the Act has failed to apply for such registration, such officer may register the said person on temporary basis, issue an order in the prescribed form. Where any person is liable to take registration but has failed to obtain registration. On such finding, inspection, survey, the proper officer finds that he is liable to take registration but has failed registration, then such officer can issue a temporary registration, that is called as sumoto registration. Suppose such person has accepted for that one, he has to apply for permanent registration within 90 days from the date of sumoto registration. If such person is not accepted, then he shall file an application to the appeal authority. If such appeal authority is uphold the registration, then such person shall apply for registration within the 30 days from the date of order of such authority. Then what is the remedy for a person? If a person accepted the sumoto registration, he shall make an application for registration within 90 days from the date of sumoto registration or from the date of temporary registration. If a person does not accept it with sumoto registration, he shall file an appeal to the appellate authority. If such appellate authority upholds the registration, that is such authority ask him to do the registration to such person, then such person shall be liable to apply for registration within 30 days from the date of order of such appeal authority. Then procedure for registration. Procedure for registration. The procedure is common to all persons, common for voluntary taxable person, a person paying tax under section 22, a person paying tax under section 24, all persons. But this procedure shall not apply to non-resident taxable person, a person required to deduct at source, that is e-commerce person, a person required to collect at source, that is government, a person on OIDR information. Their procedures for registration is different. So procedures are same for regular taxable person, composition taxable person, and a person seeking registration voluntarily. These persons, the procedures we are going to discuss. Every person who is liable to be registered or so is seeking voluntary registration, first they have to declare their friend. First they have to go to common portal www.gst.gov.in. In this common portal, first they have to give their PAN number, they have to give their mobile number, they have to give their email number. Very first, that PAN number shall be validated by online by common portal from the database maintained by CBDT, not by GST department. The database maintained by Central Board of Direct Taxes. First, the PAN number shall be validated by the common portal from the database maintained by CBDT, Central Board of Direct Taxes. How the mobile number is verified? Mobile number is verified with one-time password sent to such mobile number, and email number also verified with the one-time password has been sent to such email address. After this, these three are successful. On successful verification of PAN, mobile number, email ID, a temporary number has been generated. One temporary number has been generated, and the same number has been communicated to the person who are going for registration. Through online portal only. That is the third point. On successful verification of PAN, the mobile number and email ID and temporary reference number shall be generated and communicated to the applicant on the said mobile number and email address. Okay. Then the fourth one. Once the temporary number is generated, using that temporary reference number, the applicant shall file electronically the other details. Once the other details are filed, that file go to the concerned officer. That is the thing. Fourth point, using the reference number generated, the applicant shall electronically submit an application. On receipt of an application, an acknowledgement number shall be issued electronically to the. Once the number is generated, the temporary reference number is generated, that is communicated to the person using common portal. On successful, then on receipt of application, acknowledgement number also shall be issued electronically to the applicant. The applicant, after that, the application has been sent to the concerned officer for proper verification for grant of registration certificate also. If the proper officer is satisfied, then he will issue, he will approve the sanction of, he will approve the grant, he will grant of the registration number within 3 working days. That means, if the proper officer is thinks that is okay, then he will issue the grant of a registration certificate within 3 working days. That is that. If the That is the point. The application shall be forwarded to the proper officer who shall examine the application. If the officer finds the application or documents on order, he shall approve the grant of registration to the applicant within 3 working days from the date of the submission of the law. If the officer is satisfied, then he shall approve the grant of registration within 3 working days. Suppose the officer require further information, clarification or document, he shall issue a show cause notice to the person. Then reply to show cause notice has to be given within 7 days using electronic common portal. Suppose if the proper officer require further information, he shall issue a show cause notice. The person shall give a reply to the show cause notice within 7 working days. Then after that, if the proper officer is satisfied with that further information or document, then he can issue a grant of registration certificate. If the proper officer is not satisfied or the reply is not given, then such proper officer reject the application by record the reasons in writing. If the proper officer want to reject the application, he shall record the reason in writing, then he can reject the application. First PAN number, mobile number, email number shall be validated. On successful validation, a temporary reference number is generated. That temporary reference number has been communicated to the person who has applied for registration. Using such a temporary reference number, this person shall electronically file all other documents. Such documents and all shall be forwarded to the concerned officer. If the proper officer finds it is okay, then he shall approve the grant of registration within 3 working days. If the proper officer is not satisfied, he shall ask the proper officer, shall issue a show cause notice to the person for giving clarification, explanation or further document. If further document given is satisfied by the proper officer, then he can approve the grant of registration certificate. If the documents are not in proper, or no reply is given, or documents are the reply given is not satisfied by the officer, then he shall record the reason in writing and shall reject the application. There. If that we are going to read now. If officer finds that the application or documents are deficient or require some clarification, he may issue a notice to the applicant within 3 working days from the date of submission of application, and the application shall furnish such clarification or information or document electronically within a period of 7 working days from the date of receipt of such notice. Officer is satisfied that the clarification, information or document furnished, he may approve the grant of registration to the applicant within 7 working days from the date of the receipt of such clarification or information or document. No reply is furnished by the applicant or officer is not satisfied with the clarification or information, he shall for the reasons recorded in writing, reject such application and inform the applicant electronically. Registration deemed approval of approval. Sometimes it is deemed, if the proper officer is not taken any action within 3 working days, then it is automatically accepted. And if the officer is not taken any action within 7 working days from the date of receipt of further clarification or document, it is deemed to be granted the registration. For the very first, if he is not taking any action within 3 working days, it is accepted. And after that he has issued, and previously he has given show cause notice. For the reply has been given by the applicant to the show cause notice within 7 days. And the proper officer is not taking any action within 7 days, it is deemed to be accepted and the grant of registration certificate is deemed to be given. That is the thing. Then physical verification sometimes physical verification is required. If proper officer is of the opinion that the physical verification is required in some cases, he shall physically verify the applicant's place, then he has verified the document, photograph, all he has to verify. And such verification shall be done by the proper officer. Once he has verified, then all such verified documents shall be uploaded on the common portal within 15 working days from the date of such verification. That we are going to discuss. Physical verification of business premises, where the proper officer is satisfied that the physical verification of the place of business of a registered person is required. After the grant of registration, he may get such verification done, and the verification report along with other documents including photographs shall be uploaded on the common portal within 15 working days following the date of such verification. If the proper assets officer is satisfied that the physical verification of business premises is required, he may do the same and upload the same within 15 working days of such verification on the common portal. Got my point? Okay. Once GST certificate is given, GSTN number it will, goods and service tax identification number. The format is like that only. State code, it is a 2-digit state code, and PAN number, and after that entity code, after that checksum, 1 character, 2-digit is the entity code, 1 digit is a checksum, 10-digit PAN number, 2-digit state code, 10-digit PAN number, 2-digit entity code, 1 checksum character, it is given. GST format is like that only.